how does the Democratic Party recover? I had Ro Khanna here.
Just a day ago, right?
Yeah, just a day ago.
Yeah.
By the way, great conversation.
I'm
but
sure,
we had him just a day ago, and we're sitting there talking about what policies do you have left for the average day-to-day person to agree with you that's not an extremist? What do you have left? Like, I'm actually curious because you used to be the party that's against war. Now it's the Republicans. You used to be about, hey, working Americans, rich got richer under your term, and gas prices went up under you. You used to. What part of it do they have the edge over, argument-wise, purely argument-wise? I don't know what argument they're winning. Hey, no taxes on tips. That's low and middle income earners, waiters, waitresses. He said that first 2 weeks that Kamala says that. Hey, we're going to finish the war. I just don't want people to die. The other side is causing. What argument do they have left?
Well, if you're becoming a party that wins with wealthy Americans and loses with labor union members, loses with the working class, loses with middle class, clearly the Democrats have lost the plot on this, right? I mean, Republicans this time around won with average Americans.
That's insane.
It's a big difference from where they were.
By a billionaire, by a media guy.
Right.
How did he connect with them where the average guy's like, dude, that guy's going to take care of me much more than this guy that's from Delaware. I feel like he's the one. I feel like he's going to do a better job than Kamala Harris.
So I'm going to have two answers for you.
Please.
And they're different, very different answers.
Okay.
One is that the Democrats really believed that democracy needed to be on the agenda, right? That this was, if it was just an issues election, they weren't going to win. They had to go after Trump because he's like, going to destroy democracy.
Right.
There were very few Americans that actually voted who believed that democracy was the most important issue.
Okay.
But of those that did, they voted more Trump than Harris. And isn't that fascinating? And that is something the Democrats
How do you handle that? This is like, were you shocked when you saw?
Not at all.
So you saw this coming?
I thought Trump was going to win, yes. But this will be my second argument. But let's start with this one, which is, yes, Trump has done a bunch of things that do not reflect that he is someone that really cares about long-term rule of law in this country. In my view, he is not the poster child for like great American governance standards and values. Historically, I wouldn't put him in that category. But so many people in this country believe that the reason democracy is broken is not because of Trump. He's a symptom. The reason democracy is broken is because for decades, you have special interests in this country that have captured the political system and the uniparty and the deep state, and call it whatever you want. But the average person sees that the leaders don't care about them. The elites don't care about them. The political leaders, the business leaders, the media leaders, the university leaders, the whole damn lot. And so why would they vote for Trump? Because they believe that just keeping on, voting for the establishment time and time and time again is going to do more wars and send poor kids to Afghanistan and Iraq and God knows where else, and promote free trade that takes, they believe, jobs away from average Americans, support, collective security and sending lots of money to other countries. And they're like, well, that may be good in principle, but if you're not going to help me, why should I support that? If it's just going to help the top 1%, why should I support that? Like, I think globalization is good, but globalization is only good if your leaders also take care of you. So I think the fact is you have lots and lots of Americans that feel like they needed someone that was prepared to break the system, to challenge the establishment. And that has happened in lots of countries, not just in the United States, but Trump took advantage of that. And not just the first time, but the second time when they knew exactly who he was, when it wasn't an experiment, when he's already gone through the impeachments and was almost assassinated and got convicted and everything else. And people said, no, exactly. He's fighting against those guys. I want this guy. Now, there's a second reason that Trump won, and this one is not an American reason, but it's really important. I know you've seen how many elections we've had all around the world over the last 12 months. We have more coming in the next few months.
That's right.
Overwhelmingly, incumbents lost. And that is mostly a hangover from the pandemic. That is, this was I mean, of all the things you and I have experienced as Americans, the pandemic has been the most disruptive in our lives, right? Every American felt that, don't care your walk of life. The economy was completely disrupted. Supply chains were completely shut down. A massive amount of money, trillions and trillions of dollars were spent. And also, people didn't move. They didn't go from state to state. They didn't go from country to country. You finish the pandemic, inflation is at historically high levels. Migration is at historically high levels. Any leader that is holding the bag around the world is going to lose in that environment. And here's what's interesting, is that if you were an alien looking down at all the elections over the last year, the U.S. election was one of the closest. I mean, you would be forgiven for asking, why did Harris do so well? And the answer is not that she was a good candidate. The answer is that the U.S. economy was doing comparatively better, and inflation was comparatively lower than what they had in Europe, for example, or in Canada, for example. And that's why that election was close. That's why, despite everything we've been talking about, Trump didn't break 50%.
Yeah, I mean, she lost 7 states.
I know.
7 for swing states. But and
I'm just comparing it to other elections around the world.
But then this is what it makes me think about. Rob, you know what I want to know? And maybe you already know the answer to this question. Of the incumbents that lost, you said majority of them lost.
Almost all of them, yeah.
Almost all of them.
Yeah.
What percentage of them were liberals and more democratic, socialist, progressive policies that were aligned with what America and Biden did? What percentage of them?
And this is for the 2022 midterms.
Yeah, no, not midterms.
No.
We're talking 2024, because in the last 12 months, was known for the biggest election, globally. India, globally. I want to know what percentage of the incumbents who were lost had identical policies to Biden, the way they handled COVID, not the way maybe a DeSantis handled COVID.
So, look, interesting point, right, is the UK was one of these elections, and the Conservatives got completely hammered, and Labor came in. Why? Anti-incumbent. It's like whoever happens to be in power through that. It's not about the policies. Japan.
You think so?
Absolutely. Because it was such an incredible shock, and people just said, I want these leaders out. I don't care who they are. I want them out. I mean, in India, Modi, who's one of the most popular leaders of any democracy in the world, and massively underperforms his expectations and has to have a coalition government. In Japan, LDP leader, right? Again, center-right. It's kind of a uniparty, now has to govern in coalition. Now, there are plenty of examples on the other side, too, but I think that the through point here is that if you are in a position of power in that environment, it's a real democracy and the election isn't rigged, you just got hammered. And that is the reality.
Yeah. Did you ask ChatGPT, Rob? Is that the one you asked?
I did. That's where that information
So it says
from.
over 80 countries representing nearly half of them. But can you find out how many of them are, okay, that's what you're doing?
This gave me United States again. So
I want the world. So it says over 80 countries, amongst democracies, more than 80% of incumbent parties experience a decline in support compared to previous elections, with many suffering historic losses.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. But I would want to know, based on what? I understand with UK, they had a lot of weird things that they were dealing with. And I wonder how much, okay, so maybe let me go to a different question with this.
Yeah.
Do you think if it was Biden and he doesn't step away, do you think he beats Trump?
God, no.
Okay. So neither one of them.
No.
So neither one of them.
I mean, Biden gets hammered much worse.
How about Josh Shapiro?
I think that anyone it would have been easier for Shapiro because at least Shapiro wasn't as much of an incumbent. I mean, Harris and Biden are responsible.
Put them in the same camp.
Put them in the same camp. Yeah.
How about Newsom?
Look, again, I would say if you are looking at a change election, then even Josh Shapiro and Newsom would be seen
change
as
election
largely
in politics and policies.
In politics and
okay.
policies.
But even if you go to UK, how did they handle COVID? I don't know if you handled COVID the way DeSantis handled COVID.
No.
Even if you go to a lot of these, there was some people you can consider conservative, but they still weren't handling it the way it was like open, feel free, what do you want to do? I mean, the best state in handling COVID was probably the state of Florida. My opinion. You may disagree. My opinion, right, on what happened. Nowadays, more than ever, the brand you wear reflects and represents who you are. So for us, if you wear a Future Looks Bright hat or a Valuetainment gear, you're telling the world, I'm optimistic. I'm excited about what's going to be happening, but you're a free thinker. You question things. You like debate. And by the way, last year, 120,000 people got a piece of Future Looks Bright gear with Valuetainment. We have so many new things. The cufflinks are here. New Future Looks Bright. This is my favorite, the green one. Just yesterday, somebody placed an order for 100 of these. If you watch the PBD podcast, you got a bunch to choose from. White ones, black ones. If you smoke cigars and you come to our cigar lounge, we have this high quality lighter cutter and a holder for the cigars. We got sweaters with the Valuetainment logo on it. We got mugs. We got a bunch of different things. But if you believe the future looks bright, if you follow our content and what we represent with Valuetainment, with PBD Podcast, go to vtmerch.com. And by the way, if you order right now, there's going to be a special VT gift inside just for you. So again, go to vtmerch.com, place your order, tell the world that you believe the future looks bright. If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here.